Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It's pro-level 1v1 ladder action this afternoon on Crossfire Canal. Exciting stuff, I'm sure you'll agree. First of all, though, I want to say a quick thank you to Captain Klutz and Regal Eagle, who, after a conversation on my personal Discord server, have been busy curating extra mods which they think improve the viewing experience here at Guilecast. And I've got to say, after having trial run them yesterday on the premium channel, I have to heartily agree. We're going to be introducing those mods today, and if you would like to get involved and suggest more things, get some privileged access to me and help improve the casts and whatnot, you can do the same as they did by subscribing to Patreon. Link in the description below this video. And oh yeah, and while you're down there, love, click like, subscribe and comment and all that jazz, because for some reason the earlier you do it, YouTube thinks it makes it a better video. So I don't know why, it's the way the algorithm works apparently. But yeah, not only will you get access to the Discord server, of course, you will also get the regularly updating bank of premium content. The casts, we've got 53 casts so far and climbing. We had an absolute monster yesterday, 1 hour and 20-minute epic. So if a ladder match isn't quite your forte as today, do consider subscribing for a mere $1 a month. Spend dollar or much these days, especially the way the money printing's going. It's nothing, it's nada, it's hardly anything, but it does support me the more people join, obviously, so do consider it, guys. Anyway, that's enough of all that shameless self-promotion. Let's get on to today's game. As we said, it's not custom 1v1, it's ladder 1v1 on Crossfire Canal. I got it there in the end. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready, so let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching! Ka-ching. Alright, Crossfire Canal, we know what we're dealing with here, but what is new is being able to immediately find out how much reclaim there is on the entirety of the field. Ba-bing! Okay, so that's not new, but what is new is the counter up here. You can see the reclaim totaling up all of the available mass on the map, and my favorite part of it is it's linked dynamically to the field of view. It's not just the whole map, it is exactly what is being shown on the screen. So if we zoom more or less into one slice, we can see that it's just shy of 10,000 a slice, roughly speaking. Obviously slightly different since when you zoom right out, it's only 54,000 and there are 6 slices, but yes, something in that region. I think that's because I'm getting some bleed through there. You can't show the whole slice exactly, and you can see it's already in 9,500 there. But anyway, that's our first little introduction to one of the mods there. Let's introduce our players before they get too far ahead. Down here at the bottom left in the blue corner, we have Freedom. He's going Cyber, bless him, opening first land and going second air. And his opponent today over here at the top right in the red corner, it's none other than LaissezFairy, also going Cyber, so it's a Cyber mirror matchup, which of course means as soon as this is over, I shall be downing a gallon of off milk, long since expired. And he's also going a first land there, second air. Now we'll zoom out, we'll go to split screen so you can examine their sandy coarse red openings. I know exactly what you like to do, guys. It's all pretty standard. Check out this meta, it couldn't get much more clear cut than that. It's land factory, 3p gens, build your starting core mass, and then get on to another 3p gens and get your air factory. You've got to get that early air factory, and of course on Crossfire Canal, because you're going to need a transport to colonize the other slices to your left and right. Early engineers, of course, straight off to get the reclaim dotted around the edges of your, well, what is that, your middle plateau, shall we call it. So there we have it. So all very standard, nothing crazy. And while they're heating things up, because it is of course a 20 by 20 map, takes a little bit of time to get going, we can check out some of the other juicy little aspects to this mod. If we select Freedom as we're looking at him and select the factory, the land factory, we can check in some more instantly recognizable stats right here. Total HP 2,750, sorry. Mass cost 240, energy cost 2,100. Doesn't have any build power. Well, I mean, it does have build power, but it doesn't equate build power. That's for engineering units, and doesn't have any DPS, of course. So if we select the ACU there, you can see 100 DPS and 10 build power. What's the build power on a T1 NG, Guile? Well, I'm glad you asked. We can select and find out it's 5. How useful is that extra info. I think it's pretty cool. There were some other mods as well that did get suggested that haven't made the cut, incidentally, purely because it looks like they're a little bit buggy in places. I'm hoping they might get a little bit of love so we could introduce a few more. I know there's going to be a cohort of you in the comments below now saying, Guile, what about the strategic icons mod? We've been telling you for a decade. The answer is 50% of you keep telling me, or 50% of you that keep mentioning the mods tell me that you want the strategic icons mod, and the other 50% says they'll leave if I put it on. So in favor of just not losing half my audience, I've basically decided to leave it where it is. It seems to be too garish for some people, so I don't know. But it's not completely out of the question, but certainly that's why I haven't leapt in that direction. Anyway, the early transports are out. Freedom going to his right, LaissezFairy going to his left. Slight difference here in where these guys are dropping. Both going 4 NGs a pick, but Freedom dumping all 4 of his NGs right up into the top plateau there, whereas LaissezFairy splitting them off to get the extra hydro. Does that mean he's building less T1 P-gens in his base? I wonder. Not really. Freedom's a little bit further ahead, perhaps, on the production of T1 P-gens. How are these two faring in terms of power? Well, LaissezFairy on the breadline, so he is going to need that hydro ASAP. Does get it, and even with it up, in fact, he's still just about holding level on eco balance, and Freedom as well, cutting it fine. This is the thing, you really do need lots and lots of power on Crossfire Canal. There's tons of mass points that you can get your hands on early doors, so you're going to have to spam up as many P-gens as you can. Lots of air factories queued up for Freedom. And what have we got here for LaissezFairy? He went for a second land factory before his third air factory, so he's gone 2 and 3 in terms of ratio for land and air factories. Another drop off successfully for LaissezFairy at the 3 o'clock position, and a similar one just going down now for Freedom at the 9 o'clock. 4 engineers off for him. LaissezFairy at the 3 o'clock went for 3 engineers. We're getting our first little interactions between interceptors down in the southeast, and we've also got a T1 bomber from LaissezFairy looking for some engineering prey. He's found some. He offloads his payload and gets a kill on that poor little NG. He won't be going home to mama, except in a box. Another bomber going out to the 3 o'clock position over here. This time for Freedom, and there's 3 engineers clumped up begging for a bomb, and they're not going to get it. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to have an INTI or a scout plane running intel for him, so he's going to have to come around and have another pass. He's going to hope that LaissezFairy is concentrating on the southeastern slice where he's winning an air battle, and he doesn't move the engineers, which he doesn't. That's a nice second attempt over there. Picks off all 3 of those engineers, prevents completion of the second land factory, although that first one is up and running. Not currently producing anything by the looks of things, though, for the time being. In comes an interceptor to try and shoot him down. Now it's working on an engineer, although that's probably going to get cancelled. Indeed it does, but another interceptor comes in to ruin his day. Meanwhile, another T1 bomber targets some Mantis just outside the 3 land factories at the northwestern slice. Takes a lot of flak, though, on his way out after that initial pass and gets himself shot down for his trouble. We have our first naval yards going up now for LaissezFairy up at the North Canal. He's got 1 operational naval yard and another 5 queued up right by it. We do have an engineer potentially in place over for Freedom. Where is he heading? Well, no, by the looks of things, he's on a reclaim order. So potentially Freedom might be behind in the naval production side of things. Might be a little bit of a disparity. We've been on Crossfire Canal so many times before, and we've learned just how vital it is to get control of the canals if you can. Shut down portions of the map with lots and lots of cruisers, of course. So many games have been lost by prioritizing different aspects and forgetting about naval play. Will Freedom make that mistake? We have had a saucy little engineer drop, meanwhile, over onto the northwestern slice from Freedom. 2 engineers on the ground working on the second land factory already, with another 4 queued up, assuming they're all belonging to those engineers. Yes, they are. Inbound Engie from LaissezFairy, though, might spoil the surprise. That's what LaissezFairy can currently see. He will have spotted the mole, and if he's thinking about it logically, there's no way a mole could really get there. And then he zooms in and notices a land factory. I say there's no reason a mole could get there. Unlikely a mole is going to be airdropped in by itself, is what I meant. And now with the demise of that engineer, there is no more doubt in his mind. Surely he will have to concoct some kind of plan to deal with that infestation. Meanwhile, T1 bomber taking pot shots at mexes and what have you. Engineer completes a tracer. That should protect that corner of the slice from further attack for the time being. Interceptor shoots down the bomber regardless. And the first frigates out for LaissezFairy. First one makes its way right to the center of the map. And we forgot to say, incidentally, another one of the mods, you can see handy little yellow ring around the ACUs. Not such a noticeable thing when you're zoomed in, but when you zoomed out, it really does draw the eye straight away to the location of the ACU, something that I often struggle with my narrow tunnel vision. Doesn't make life easy, so hopefully that'll help us identify potential snipes and other interesting aspects or comms that might be in danger. Less important, I think, for a 1v1 ladder match than it is, for instance, for a 4v4 or greater. Larger team games, that could be invaluable, but LaissezFairy dispatching large numbers of Sky Slammers and Mantis to deal with this little problem over here at the cliffs. More units filing in all the time. Freedom does dispatch a bomber to alleviate some of the pressure, but I think it's fair to say it's unlikely it's going to survive, and it doesn't, thanks to all of those Sky Slammers. And those factories gradually to be whittled down. Where are we in terms of eco? Haven't dropped in on that yet. Well, it's relatively even in terms of generated eco now, but in terms of reclaim, look at that disparity. 14k for LaissezFairy, 4.7 for Freedom. That is huge. And in terms of total mass accrued, there's an 11k difference now between LaissezFairy and Freedom. That is not cool, bro. Freedom's going to need to rectify that. He has transitioned to T2 land over here at the 9 o'clock position, is already sending Wagner's across the water. Too late, unfortunately, to save any of the land factories up at the cliffs. LaissezFairy completes his conquest there and is, at least for the time being, in control of that northwestern slice. More frigates mounting all the time in the middle. Not currently going straight for a denial, or actually, having said that, we do have one frigate down here in the southwest, the location where Freedom has decided to produce his naval yards, a little bit behind the curve, as we've already said there. Frigate just needs to be repositioned so he can start incinerating some of these engineers. I imagine we're going to get some more frigates dispatched over here. He's left one in the southern channel, the other likely location for naval yards. Look at this aggression, though. Freedom not hanging about, just getting his comm stuck in over at the 3 o'clock position. No transports or anything like that, just hoofed it out on foot and underwater, and it's causing problems over here. Lots and lots of supporting units, Mantis and the like, being dispatched out of the factories at the center of this slice to try and engage the commander and shoo him off the island. That commander really is all by his lonesome. God, it's a good thing he's not stockpiling Corsairs or anything like that. That could be a rude awakening for Freedom, but it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. Lots of engineers have bitten the dust around this naval yard, and in fact you can see all of the other ones that were queued up down here have since been killed off. the demise of those engineers, and in come 3 frigates from LaissezFairy to help solidify his position down here and help the denial of naval power going on against Freedom. Oh, give the attack order already, please. Lying in wait. Another nice little attack, though, over at the 3 o'clock position. Freedom with a bunch of build capacity over here, working on his 4th land factory now. Has a group of Mantis on the ground, currently engaging some Medusas. As long as Freedom's paying attention, he should be able to out-micro those and take them down. Needs to move in more aggressively, though, to prevent any of the factories from taking damage. You can see, once they get in range, they could well become the target of fire. Definitely doesn't want to lose those. And he manages not to with a little attack order. Engineers out here for LaissezFairy working on another one. Down they go, and they grab themselves a radar kill at the same time. Oh, look at this. Torpedo bomber for LaissezFairy. So he has transitioned to T2 air. Looks like he might be about to lose them. For the time being, the interceptors from Freedom are focusing on controlling the skies. Take some pot shots at the bombers on the ground when LaissezFairy's inties stroll out of range. And that is definitely an aerial win for Freedom. But Freedom, for the time being, operating entirely from T1 air. And as we've already seen, we are at not just T2, but T3 air now for LaissezFairy, who is growing his lead in terms of total mass all the time. 68k versus 49k. Already working on his 2nd reactor. I mean, just look at the gulf in difference. Freedom still working on T2 P-gens. He's so much further behind. And in reclaim figures, look at that, 29k versus 13. And you can really see it. Look how much more green there is kicking about on this side of the map than there is up here. Top 2 slices over here. 8,300 and 14,000 down here. Admittedly, we're getting a lot of extra numbers from some graveyards kicking about at the corners of the slice. But look at the success Freedom is having over here. And in fact, in 2 places, while we've been waffling, we've had Wagner's crossing the canal up onto the northwestern slice. The factories on the central plateau section are down and out. All of the core mass is destroyed. We have, however, got a whaler that's helping to tidy things up. That should really ring alarm bells for Freedom and let him know, if he wasn't already aware, just how far behind the curve he is already. He's currently upgrading to T3, though, but does he have the power generation required to sustain Tech 3 air production? Those upgrades as well are also proceeding at a very slow rate. Currently out of mass. If he was storing it, it finally clicks over, but I would be surprised if he can sustain proper T3 air production, whereas we are already seeing air superiority fighters out for LaissezFairy. I do fear for Freedom, who, don't forget, is giving up almost a couple of hundred ladder ranking points to his opponent here, and actually, whilst focusing in on the ground and expanding his territory, is giving a good game right now. He has really smashed the 3 o'clock position. He has caused lots of damage over here up at the northwest. But I fear for the level of tech that LaissezFairy is pumping out. I just don't know if Freedom is going to be able to keep pace with this. Generated eco. Freedom is actually up now, thanks to him conquering the 3 o'clock position, as we've said also, and taking down those mexes up there in the northwest. But for how long is the question? And of course, is the better reclaim skills for LaissezFairy going to counteract that regardless? We did see some naval yards attempt to go up down in the southern canal for Freedom. That has been obliterated by LaissezFairy, who's firmly in control of the waterways right now. There are no other naval yards in play anywhere for Freedom, or indeed under construction, no less. It is absolutely LaissezFairy's game on the naval side of things. And there we have the first of the ion reactors, an absolute essential to sustain air production. As we've already said, see that T3 air factory just working on more engineers for the time being, making sure to get all of those out, make sure that factory's doing something useful. Moment, we're just feeding these frigates. T1 aircraft kills, not a great place to land or indeed hover your planes. Where are we in terms of air superiority fighters now? 14 out for LaissezFairy, but Freedom sitting on 4 slices right now. But he is again down in mass production, not hugely, but it's like a couple of mass, something like that. Do we have another attack brewing over here? He's gone for T3 land factory at the 9 o'clock position. Not currently churning anything out of it, though. Of course, the emergence of some bricks could really mix things up. But the problem is, of course, LaissezFairy, as we've already seen, can just counter with T3 air. It's probably why Freedom is prioritizing air production over anything else, or at least we imagine he will be. In fact, you can see, yeah, first air superiority fighters coming off the conveyor. Second ion reactor nearly up. That will be more than enough power for him to be getting on with once that completes. As we approach the 20-minute mark, things go a little bit quiet. LaissezFairy, though, pulling ahead by a clear margin, some 15 or so mass. And in terms of total mass accrued, 116k to 98. Have the reclaim figures improved? Well, somewhat. Freedom up to 31k now, next to 47. He hasn't given a lot more ground. Trio of Wagners move up, take down a mechs on the main slice belonging to Fairy, but are going to get ghosted by a couple of whalers standing guard. Not really standing with a gunship, is it, Guile? No, not exactly. Saucy little T1 drop onto the main slice. I can't imagine that that's going to get much done, in all honesty. Quick flyby by air superiority fighters lets us know he's well aware of the threat, and the whalers will be dispatched to finish those off in about 6 shots. Okay, 12. And there we have it. Freedom starting T2 on the comm. And all we have to do is zoom out, look for the yellow line. There he is. 15% down there, and he's got a shield gen queued up for when he completes. He does now have an operational naval yard. That's the important thing. And he's got a couple of tracers out front. One frigate making its way further down that canal belonging to Fairy. But he's going to need more than that to finish that naval yard off, and I'm sure that now he's discovered it, we'll see some fleet movements from him. Bagged himself a couple of engineers, but that's it. What's going on the main slice? Check this out. Major Wagner invasion from across the water, making its way up towards the central plateau. LaissezFairy, unupgraded commander. Why would he be? There's been no commander play in this match so far. Wagners make their way in towards the main base. How much damage can they inflict? Well, we've got strap bombers lurking. Of course, they can cause collateral damage if used too aggressively. If they can just take down an iron reactor, perhaps the explosion might inflict some extra pain. There's not an awful lot of Wagners left. Iron reactor down into the red. Below 1,000 hit points, but the number of Wagners are dwindling. Oh my word. 400 hit points. That was close. Meanwhile, the bricks that we knew would emerge from that T3 land headquarters at the 9 o'clock position, have done so, and they make their way back up onto the main plateau. But those strap bombers able to move in completely unchallenged. Another drop inbound, but it's not going to get completed. That fighter screen too tight around that main headquarters position. Tech 2 gunships lying in wait nearby. Fairy bringing his commander back in to the center of his base. Iron reactor repairs underway. Naval yard still operational, but he hasn't got enough of them to challenge the naval production of Fairy, really. And as an air battle kicks off in the southwest, that's going to go very well for Fairy indeed. And Freedom finds himself once again down in terms of fighter numbers. Numbers that he's desperately going to need, Freedom, if he's going to combat the threat of the gunships and the strap bombers that he's just discovered. Lots and lots of naval yards queued up in that northern canal now for Fairy. Another attack underway from Freedom, who's absolutely determined to keep up the pressure here, and I applaud the attempt, but it's just not going to survive without any kind of flak airdropped in with it. Gunships go to town on the Wagners. They do manage to pick off another mechs to their credit. They were on their way up here, presumably to engage another one. And all this time, of course, Freedom still sitting on 4 slices and harassing a 5th. Arguably 5th and 6th, of course, with all of the pressure being applied to the main base. But in terms of generated eco, look at the difference. Fairy on 222 versus Freedom on 135. Sometimes, especially on a 20 by 20k map control isn't all that, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you can sit back, you can inflict serious casualties as the kill to loss ratios show us. 1.17 versus 0.83 in favor of Fairy. And you can tool up your eco and just get further and further ahead despite sitting on less map control. Freedom doing a good job of harassing but not keeping up with the eco side of things. Needs to start getting some T3 mexes up and running. These are all still at Tech 2. There's a Fairy, conversely, has his outer ones all at Tech 3. Is just a little bit of a different class in terms of macro gameplay. Even with bricks scoring some decent kills over here. Shame Freedom hasn't got the fighters there to protect those bricks. Where are we in terms of ASF numbers now? 23 on the field for Fairy. You know what? 23 on the field for Freedom. It's currently even in terms of ASF numbers. I'm sure Freedom would love to get the lead before trying anything too daring. He'd like nothing more than to get air dominance or air control, help him combat the deficit he's facing in the canals right now. Where are we in terms of frigate numbers? 33 frigates. That's a lot on the field for Fairy versus 7 for Freedom. That is a very big differential. And here comes a nice little engage, I think, from Fairy, who comes in behind Freedom with his stealth activated. Freedom forgets to activate his, and it costs him dearly. Oh dear, oh dear. Definite error there. Oh, that's just insult to injury. I'm not even going to waste Tech 2 gunships on defending against your bricks. I'm going to send in the jesters, says Fairy. 2 bricks remain. T3 mechs down, though. That's 3 of 4. Can they score the last one? This will be hurting Fairy a little bit. They will get that last T3 mechs. Another T2 mechs over here in jeopardy. Such a bizarre game. Rarely you see this kind of pressure lead to a player being behind, and a bug is under construction here from Fairy. And this is kind of interesting because we haven't seen much in the way of solid aggression. It's been mostly defensive from Fairy over the last 5 to 10 minutes. We've seen the drops, we've seen the cross-canal amphibious land attacks from Freedom. We haven't seen a lot in the way of movement from these frigates. They've just been kind of holding position. They could easily have come down here and knocked out this naval yard. He's well aware that it's there, but instead he's been focusing on other things. The emergence, however, of this bug will give him a massive, massive advantage. We've already seen him grab the initiative in the air game. However, of course, the construction of that bug will lead to problems producing more fighters. It's going to slow up his economy. Freedom might already have reached parity in terms of ASF numbers once again. Let's just have a quick look here. 18 versus 26, I think that is. Once again, another engagement brewing. Once again, Freedom not activating his stealth. I just don't know why you wouldn't. Strats, though, inbound, and they're coming after the main slice, which it has to be said is very poorly defended. Those stealth bombers have their stealth activated. They're going after the reactors. One of them's down, another one of them down to about 60% health. We've got 3 strat bombers left. A couple of SAMs, in fact lots of SAMs up here, diligently defending the skies as best they can. Oh, one more bomb and that iron reactor's toast. 800 hit points left. But that's the end of that little strat bomber attack. Sam's dealt with that. Big old T1 and T2 drop underway, although the Wagner's probably crossed under their own steam. But the bug is nearly done. 85,000 hit points out of 90,000. And there it is. Now, where's he going to deploy it? Defensively at first. Massacres some of his own buildings in the process. Gunships dealing with the low order spam over here. Where is that going? It looks like it's going straight for the 3 o'clock position. No surprises there. Huge flotilla of frigates, or fleet even, floating straight past the now Tech 2 naval yard, not taking it out. Interesting decision on that front. Again, these Mantis going to be ineffectual on the main slice against those renegades and those whalers. And look at that, huge quantities of frigates now being dispatched, and some destroyers too. That's Soul Ripper landing temporarily before being redirected, and now we see Fairy go on the offensive. Huge control K of landing craft from Freedom. He knew that they weren't going to survive that impending attack. Lots of Wagners queued up, waiting for their next amphibious assault. They will not be partaking in that. Huge quantities of cormorants, the Cyberin Tech 2 torpedo bombers, deployed to defend the naval yard over here, and they might just about do it. Some 1,600 hit points left and only one frigate remaining, but of course there is an inbound Soul Ripper. A Soul Ripper who's coming dangerously close to Freedom's comm, incidentally, who's loitering under some very paltry, unupgraded shield coverage. Immediately gets to work on some SAM launchers. Is he at all aware of the comms position? It's almost going to dip into view. Oh my god, it's right there, but he doesn't manage to see it. Hasn't got intel on that part of the map. It's right there. Very, very close to discovering a vulnerable ACU with that flyby of the Soul Ripper. We've got another brick as well, causing problems up on that northwestern slice. But we've also got a Monkey Lord that's nearly complete. I think this is where we're going from Fairy now. It's spam out the experimentals, these high-order units, which Freedom is just completely ill-equipped to deal with right now. 3 o'clock slice has been a bit battered. Southeastern slice down here hit even worse. And now that Soul Ripper looks like it might be heading for the main base. We did see some SAM sites here, but I'm not sure it's enough to take down a Soul Ripper. Couple more over here. Is it going to stop to take them out first? No, it isn't. It's just going to go balls deep, straight for the top plateau. Shield down first. I think he should take down the SAMs, surely. But he is going to take out the ion reactors. First of all, Soul Ripper very close to being shot down here, and I don't think he needed to be. Down to below 5,000 hit points. This would be huge if he could get the kill here, but he gets a rank in veterancy. And it's enough to give him some breathing room to evac that Soul Ripper. He can start applying pressure at more vulnerable positions over the southeastern slice, excuse me. Freedom tooling up his forward position as a place to hide his commander. That's a lot of shields. Marginally unnecessary quantity of shields there. Cloaking upgrade on the way for that commander. What happened to that Monkey Lord? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I'm going to need different colored ring mod to keep track of other experimentals. Where'd he go? He hasn't been killed already, surely. Another Soul Ripper queued up. Perhaps is he sending it in another direction? This is the problem with Monkey Lords. They're so stealthy. Even Guile can't see them with full vision. Unless it's already been killed off somewhere. I find that hard to believe somehow. I know there's a pretty sizable cohort of you right now going, Guile, it's right there! Anyway, I'm sure it will turn up sooner or later. Soul Ripper back up to 12,000 hit points with its 25 hit point a second regen. And a new one underway. There it is. I found it thanks to the glories of the minimap. Over on that northwestern slice. Apologies for those of you who were verging on an aneurysm there. I hope that last minute discovery of mine alleviated the pressure. Salem class destroyer is not going to last long against that, and I think that's probably the end of that naval yard as well. Starting laser, a little bit excessive perhaps. To be honest, I think at this point he could sit here, pump out experimentals, and it is probably game over. We're at 37 minutes. It's 280 versus 140-ish in mass in favor of Fairy. Fairy has obliterated 2 slices and has maintained a pretty solid lead in the air game. and has essentially won the naval game some time ago. LaissezFairy just has to take a stroll further down that southern canal there to discover 3 more naval yards that he could pick off at ease, or with ease, sorry. Monkey Lord looks like it's going to take care of the 9 o'clock position. We do have engineers on the ground, but they're currently working on SAMs over here. We have got some T1 point defense going up. Tracers getting incinerated in one very satisfying line attack. And this, I'm sure, will be the end of the 9 o'clock position for Freedom. Engineers' efforts in vain to try and get some defenses operational in time. We do have a few of them, I suppose. Nowhere near enough. Big sweeping laser just really needs to finish off the engineers. That's the threat right now. It's not even the operational PDs. It's the increasing number of them. Always get rid of the build capacity if you can. Prevent more of those puppies from going online, but that is one dead base right there. That Monkey Lord still with 31,000 hit points. Laser upgrade complete. I have a real strong feeling he's not going to need it. Is he going to go cloaky, lasery? And you can see how much quicker, now that he's completed that progress on that Soul Ripper is going much, much quicker. And Freedom just stuck under shield gen down in the southeast in an ever-increasing number of shields. His main base hasn't seen much development for a while. I think if he was to be honest with himself right now, I think he would say that this is game over. This is the perspective from his side of things. Just a little bit meek, very light in terms of unit numbers. He's floating quite a large amount of mass. So is Fairy, actually. He's got a lot in the tank. That Soul Ripper just about to be completed. He could do with a couple of hives in here to spend some of this mass a little quicker. But another Soul Ripper complete. And one that's considerably more healthy than the previous one. Where is he headed now? Coming down to the 3 o'clock to join Pepe over here. Pepe, who's seen better days. Far too much chewing tobacco and bathtub vodka. But the two of them together, more than enough firepower surely to end this. I don't know if Fairy's actually discovered this position. He hasn't got a read on it at the moment to illustrate that the comm's still there, but if he's discovered the base, he will probably seen Freedom's commander. Freedom, who's actually moving his comm right now. Monkey Lord on its way, moving up to the main base. This is 100% over after the recent attacks. Freedom down to 57 mass per tick, and Fairy on 327. This has been a very comprehensive win. A comprehensive win that didn't necessarily look like it was on the cards when he was on under pressure early on. Yes, he was way up on mass, but he was losing territory, and Freedom was sitting on a full 4 slices for some time. But that is the difference between the pros and the Joes. High-level pros can sit back when they've got a decent amount of mass. They know how to macro really well. Strats move in to take out that little fire base. Bit of naughty walkie coming in off the canal over there. A couple of Salems. And that is the end of that. Although, does he really want to hang about? be honest, didn't need to throw those away. Could have assaulted it on the ground with this horde of Salems that's coming that way and saved the Soul Ripper, but, I mean, so what, right, at this point? Freedom evacing his commander by transport. Monkey Lord has annihilated the main base. He knows this is game. What's he currently producing? He's just spamming out aircraft now. Freedom getting to work on another base over here. Fair play to him. I like what he's done there. He picked up a deceiver to help mask his signature, stealth up that transport carrying the comm, but eventually thinks, you know what, I think I'm done. I think he was done about 7 or 8 minutes ago, to be honest. But well done for Fairy. Absolutely quality play. Didn't panic. Didn't matter that he was losing territory. Sat back on those main slices up here, defended well, and then got out the big toys and the big guns. Did take naval play, but really, it's funny. Navy wasn't a factor. I mean, a lot of people there would have gone for battleships and cruisers and the like, and tried to bombard these slices from the ocean when he got an advantage like that, and he just didn't go that way. I suppose it's more of a thing when you've got the missile-based cruisers of the Seraphim and the UEF. It depends on your weapon of choice, of course. But still, when you've got a huge advantage, it's surprising not to see them take advantage of that in that side of things. And certainly if you get cruisers out, you can help shut down any potential air plays if you're littering all of the slices down here with lots of the cruisers and whatnot, the heavy anti-air units. But anyway, didn't decide to go that way and did it in arguably a more interesting way, because it was a strat we see deployed less often on Crossfire Canal. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget, as we mentioned at the beginning, do consider the Patreon. It's a mere $1 a month, and it really, really does help support me. And you can come and chat and get involved with some games. Discord server, lighten up, yo. Cool. Until next time, guys, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.